We often hear that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East as a response to a critique on obviously anti-democratic measures. The most obvious fact is that Israel controls the lives of 3.5 million people who cannot vote to the parliament. So, of course, you cannot speak about democracy when people who are controlled by that government cannot elect it. So, in fact, it is not an elected government by the people it is controlling. And really, the list of anti-democratic measures, policies implemented by Israel every day, both in the occupied Palestinian territories and within Israel, against Israeli citizens of non-Jewish ethnic identity, it's a very long one. From denying water and electricity and basic infrastructure and living conditions from the Bedouin population, 40 unrecognized villages to this day. Even though Palestinian citizens comprise 20% of Israel's population, since the establishment of the state, the number of towns constructed for Palestinians is 0. So you have completely irresponsible conduct against Israeli citizens, and we must not forget that the Israeli society is profoundly militarized. And because of that militaristic ideology that underlies our education system and every aspect of our life, the tendency is to believe that only people coming from the military background are capable of taking on political roles. So de facto, what you have instead of a democratically elected government is a sort of military junta, because civilians, especially women, and in general civilians without a military background, it's very difficult for us to enter the political system. It is almost impossible. So really, it is enough to look at the very basic facts to see the everyday anti-democratic conduct on so many levels. The distribution of resources, the legislation, social and cultural values of the Israeli society. And in general, we must not forget that democracy is not something that a country is or is not. Democracy is a process. You can go through processes of democratization which are never ending. And the tragedy is that in the Israeli case, this process is going backwards. What we see is increasingly anti-democratic policies and reality that is created for communities.